So there is an audience late at night. Hi, Milena Bacci. It's hanging. One in front of the other for speed. One in front of the other for speed. So, James Flowers. James Flowers, this is good. Today, all family business will be settled. Well, I'm smiling not because the soothing voice of Carol Channing calms your nerves. So listen to this. This is just amazing. Just listen. He's old. Amazing. When I was young, we made fun of him, but he's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, it's not his song. It's I forget who wrote it, but he covers it. That might be the same version I already played. Here, I'll play it from the beginning so you'll know.
I've been in love so many times, thought I knew the score, but now you treated me so wrong, I can't take anymore. And it looks like I'm never gonna fall in love again.
That's the problem. I could sit and do that all night. I could listen to different music, and that would drive you. Great balls of fire. Jerry Lee Lewis won the Eurovision Song Contest in 1958 with what song? Yes? No? No, Lennon? I'll open it up to the panel. Yes, Mousy Tongue. Great balls of fire. You don't have any. I know, he can really sing. He can really sing. Unbelievable. All right, so, yeah, Darren Collins. Music soothes the savage beast. Great balls of fire. So, in case any of you are from Georgia, I don't know if you recognize that. If you do, let me know. If not, it doesn't matter. So anyway, guys, I'll try to go through most of those comments, but yesterday, I don't normally see all the messages that you guys send me. They come everywhere, and I don't know. I need a wife or a secretary or a Man Friday or whatever you call it, but I don't have it. But one popped up, and I saw it, and she said, "Ew, your comments on rape." And I apologized to her, and I won't give it more attention because I just have been feeling like maybe I've been tired or but I do want to say, in no way did I ever mean to say anything that I condone, anything that even approaches sexual assault. The one time Joe Biden made, and I don't want to talk politics, but he had an interview about what his mother told him. And she told him, this is years and years ago, told him that the powerful should never take advantage of the weak. And I'm not going to dilute my apology by making any exculpatory explanation, but I do want to say that, man, I would never condone that, nor would I associate myself with men who did such things. And I wouldn't cover for those men. In fact, I'd probably take a baseball bat to them, and I can tell you a story about that. So I realize that maybe I'm I don't know. I think I get tired sometimes, but I think I also absorb a lot. And I don't understand it. I'm not a big genius about myself, but I absorb a lot of what my mother used to call energy. And anyway, I wrote my apology, but I want to say it again. I apologize. And that young woman had every right to call me out and had every right to point out that her morals would not allow her to listen to me anymore. So she's probably not listening, but somewhere in the airwaves maybe, or in the human experience, she may forgive me. Anyway, so that was on my mind today. When the stock was up, I figured you guys couldn't call me a coward for not coming on when it's up 30%. But I also got on several phone calls, and before I knew it, it was 3:20, and then it was 3:35, and I didn't come on. But I'm here, and we can. I will look at. I will scroll down those, but there's a couple of things I wanted to point out to you. And let's see what this one is. Okay. Well, I'm showing it to you backwards, but this is probably the most important one. This is Chris LaCroisiere. It's a different story. We'll get to GTII, but this is Go Logic, and he put this out, I believe today, but it says one day, so maybe it was a little later. Go Logic, the prime broker, will force cover if the stock closes above $3. With a bounty on the short worth millions, one would think a squeeze is coming. Keep Go Logic watch list squeeze. Keep Go Logic on watch list. Squeeze could push, listen to this, what he's saying, could push it to $80 per a consultant who is tracking it. A consultant who is tracking it. Now, it's odd that he came to $80 if you looked at top, it was described to me that some of the same players that were in top are looking at GoLogic. If you looked at what happened at top, top went from 7 to about 260. Well, GoLogic's at 3 or 250, whatever. And oddly, the number I came up with is doing a ratio. I came up with $80 as a top on that. I'm not telling you to get out of GTII or anything like that. It's just if you bought some, 100 shares, whatever. I bought 500 shares. I put my order in at 32, one of my lucky numbers. But I might change it. And because he may have a point. Remember the numbers with GoLogic: 1.1 million shares trading, 900,000 shares, rough numbers, closely held. So it leaves about 200,000, 150, 200,000 shares maybe in the freely traded float. And the shorts sold almost 350,000 shares naked, as they say in the South. Well, in Texas, parts of Texas. They sold 350,000 shares that don't exist, and it was in anticipation of a flood of stock coming free to trade, and that stock's not coming as long as the short's out there. So anyway, that was one thing I want to show you. This is Logic. I just want to quickly point out in a press release 2 days ago, this quote, and this comes from Small Cap Investing. According to Logic CEO Brent Sun, our platform's AI-powered tracking technology is a game changer for engagement measurement and audience targeting. Our ability to capture and analyze user behavior data provides advertisers with actionable insights that can optimize their campaigns and deliver highly personalized experiences to their target audiences. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's that. Just 2 more, and then we can get back to the comedy jokes. Here is from Small Cap Investing again, an article from the Wall Street Journal, and unfortunately I don't see the date. Oh, there it is. It says front page of today's Wall Street Journal, so it was yesterday. AI startups become magnets for money. AI startups become magnets for money. I want you to remember this, both for Logic, but I want you to remember this: AI startups become magnets for money as it relates to GTII. AI startups become magnets for money. And then finally, last one, on Logic, they brought on board Peter Boards at a pivotal stage. And according to Small Cap Investing, this is a huge endorsement of company's current path and strategy. And I'll just read his quote, and then we'll move on to your points. And we can talk about GTII. We can talk about how his finger down. Commented Boards: I am excited to join the board of Logic at this pivotal stage in its development, particularly as it continues to close in on a number of strategic M&A targets that have unique capabilities and IP in ad tech, direct-to-consumer, and B2B sales, digital advertising, and performance marketing. And they just bought Park Place, where IP is intellectual property. Sorry, I'm trying to, there we go. Okay. All right, so that was Logic just there. But I want you to, the 2 reasons I did that. One is there's exciting happenings in logic and go logic, but I wanted to call to your attention that there is a potential coming up over the next 1 or 2 weeks or so. I mean, there's no, binoculars here that can call it out directly, but I think there's a potential for a modest squeeze in go logic, and I wanted to call that out to you, quoting Twitter. And then I just really want to get your focus on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, calling attention to AI being a magnet for money. And that's it. And then we can talk about other things. Jennifer, I like it. I like it, Jennifer. I'll show you. I like the energy, Mr. Eddie. Are you talking to me? 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 Why don't you talk to me? Why can't I hear what you're saying? What's his Marlon Mundo, the symbol? These two. Logic is 45 cents, LGIQ. Go Logic is $3. This is the one I think could have a nice little squeeze potential. Look, it's a punt, but I believe in it. And I think as the CEO has said on several calls, he is committed to making these the particular criminals in Go Logic, or not in, actually not in it, feel the pain, feel the wrath of Khan. Well, Jennifer, I don't know if you're going to think I'm crazy, Jennifer, but maybe I'll show you. I don't know. I've always been crazy, but it's kept me from going insane. Yeah, we can talk, Zach. We'll talk about, I'm going to talk about GTII now. We can talk about it, Zach. And what's this? Matthew Parker. I think people are confused because they're trying to sell the restricted shares that are lumped in with the common. Look, there's a lot of issues to talk about with GTII. And first I want to suggest to Jennifer that she's not crazy. I'm going to suggest to her that she's not crazy. But we will get to sorry, it's just taken, I wasn't ready for the question. And I wasn't, her specific question I wasn't ready for. And there we go. Jennifer, I think these two numbers could happen in GTII in a squeeze. These two numbers. And some of you will recognize those numbers. So yes, I think it can go to 1,400. But don't forget to take your, make your own strategies about how you take money off the table. I think if you listen to Avid Trader, who's very good with his analysis, I think he would say that he would wonder what I'm smoking to agree with you that it could go to high numbers. But if you add to your sentence, in a squeeze, I think it very easily will go over $1,000 at its peak. But at its peak, you should already be out of stock. And please don't. I don't know what advice to give. You got to do what's best for you. But if you shoot the moon, it might not get out of the atmosphere. And once the thing is, in a short squeeze, there's 2 or 3 things I want you to keep in mind. One is you're not going to get it right. You're not going to get it right. You're going to say, oh, I could have sold it higher, or I should have sold it, or you're never going to get it right. So aim for getting a D plus or a C minus on this trade. Don't aim for getting an A plus. Number one. Number two, when there's enthusiasm in a stock, when it's being bought, you have to leave something for the guy buying the stock from you to think he's going to make a heck of a lot of money. So if you wait for the pinnacle, you've heard that expression, the last one in the pool, or I don't know, things like that. The second point is give something for the other guy's greed. Go ahead and get out and don't worry about it. And then the third thing is sell when there's volume. And on the way up, there's going to be violent up and downs, and you're going to have to watch the volume. But as soon as this short squeeze is over, as soon as the stock is bought in, it's going to plummet, and you won't see those numbers again. There's a stock I just saw. I think it was called Imperial Petroleum 2 years ago. Had a sharp squeeze up, and then down. And there's so many examples of these. So anyway, those are my 3 things. Last one out is a rotten egg. Yeah, Vicata. It's been a nerve-shattering experience for me, sir. It was. I thought it was Richard Pryor or his sidekick, Silver Streak. Thank you, Andy Dam. It's been a nerve. My friend Jennifer, said look out for volume drops. Okay, Jack, we can talk about Alpine. 250 to 500 is great target. Matt K, set price points and sell some on the way. Moody Waters, I'll sell percentages on the top. It's going to go crazy. Hey, Counselor Diamond Hands. Welcome aboard, son. I know you're... I shouldn't use the word son, but I say it only in an affectionate way. I really would like MMTLP to settle by more. Why have I lowered my numbers? I haven't. I don't remember what my numbers were. I forgot who I just am talking to. But if I had to pick the number I think it might hit in a peak, and then if I wanted to go really outside the box, which which you should train your cats not to do. A cat should never go outside the box. But I forgot who I'm answering this of. But I could see both of these numbers be hit in a peak, both of those numbers. And I'll hold it up again. Basically 2,500 and $4,000, I think could be hit in a peak. But I don't want you to get all focused on those high things. The main thing I'm trying to show is the power of the upward movement should allow any GTC orders you have out there to be filled. And I would kind of do it like my college roommate taught me to say. I would kind of do it back-assward. I would maybe sit down and say, what are my goals? What would I, because this is maybe a once-in-a-lifetime play. I'd sit down and put my goals on a piece of paper. Dream big. Why not? Why not? And then take the number of shares you have and start playing with where you could sell at different prices to get that goal accomplished. The reason I point out really high numbers is that I looked at squeezes, and we've had this we've had a really long period of trouble. If this is going to go, it's going to be violent on the way up. And so you're going to get scared out. For example, if this is $100 and then it comes back down to 60, you're going to go, oh, I missed it. That's why have some GTC orders in. But watch the volume down here. Watch the volume. They've got to cover maybe 300 to 400 million shares. So if the volume isn't massive, they haven't finished covering. And the one thing you'll know once they start covering, they got to cover it all. They're not gonna. It's not gonna be a situation where they can head fake you. They can do it during the day. They can head fake you. But anyway, ignoring the numbers per se, as it goes up, and I think it could go really high, you can get your GTC orders off. That's all I'm saying. And then once it hits that number, it's going to come down back like that so quickly. It's going to come down more quickly than some presidents' poll numbers. No current presidents, past presidents. So anyway, I don't know if that's a good answer to whomever asked me about my numbers. What's GTC? That's good till canceled. So every order you put in on over-the-counter now, probably you have to put a limit order instead of a market order. You can do market, but I'm sure your computer's going to say over-the-counter, we don't accept market orders. I do not recommend market orders in this stock. So on a day, it'll say limit, and you put it in at the bid or the ask, whatever you're trying to do. Well, all a GTC is a limit order that goes out 30 days or 60 days. Some computers let you pick the term, but normally it's a 60-day term that you can put an order out. The dynamics of a day limit order, a day order versus a GTC used to be anyway. I don't know how the computers do it anymore, but it used to be that if you had a day order limit in on the day, it was ahead of any GTC orders put in that day. Um, yeah, my GTCs are mine. Actually, mine are 60 days. I think One Fix It Nation. I have to look it up, but maybe it's 90 days. Anyway, whatever it is in your system, you got me there. It might be 90 days. One Fix It, man. But anyway, the point is that in order of priority, when you enter the order as GTC, that first day, at least it used to be this way, day orders will be filled ahead of you. But afterward, your GTC order is first in line for any compared to any orders that come in. It shouldn't, that distinction shouldn't matter very much. The other thing, I forgot what I was going to say. Hey, Red Hood Texan. All right, Red Hook Texan. By the way, other people were asking me other things. I will scroll back or come again. But let's talk about 1-800 Law Firm. Red Hook Texan. By the press release that GTII had, I don't know, 2 months ago, something like that, they had extended the term of their signed agreement to May 15th. That's next Monday. Not 2 days ago, next Monday. And I've said to you guys that, to me, that means they probably are going to ask for more time. But I was talking to somebody actually this morning, and a thought popped into my head, probably because of something he said. I don't know. It's possible that the audit is finished, and now the lawyers at this law firm are going through a fine-tooth comb and doing all the checking, the due diligence, the checking they need to do, like lawyers always do. They check for if you've ever hired an attorney, the first thing an attorney checks for is, he'll say to you, well, your case sounds interesting. Let me bring it to my office, so-and-so, and let's see if he can check for conflicts of interest. So anyway, it's possible that the audit's already finished, and they're just checking carefully to make sure that there's a clear runway to finish the deal. So I'm equivocating a little bit, to use that word for the second time, on my sense that I thought it was going to be delayed. Maybe there's another reason why we haven't heard anything yet, and maybe that's it, what I just said. Don't be discouraged if they ask for a delay. I don't think you should be. I'm wondering if for some reason they called it off, I wonder if you should be discouraged. I don't know. All right, let's see. Ham keeps saying this, Andy Avil. Andy Avil. Ham keeps saying this is the squeeze of a lifetime. I have faith in him. I don't have a lot of shares, but Ham said this can hit 4 digits. I'm taking the gamble. Wife wants a horse ranch. Andy, go for it. Look, I think we can all focus on the risks, and we can all focus, Andy, on the limits to the upside. But look, I've Steve Martin. I know how to pick up girls. Oh, I made a lot of money. Let's see. I bought cardboard at $10 a ton and sold it at 12, and I bought 2 tons. Well, you figure it out. Anyway, I've seen a lot of things in trading, and a lot of it, and it might just be my heart is in a different place. So my answer, Andy, is if you're trading all the time, and if you're going to be, if you want to be a day trader, you want to be someone who is following charts, and you're sitting at your computer for 8 hours a day, and you're spending your nights going through charts and things like this, go ahead and get out early, because there's plenty of other trading ideas. But for me, there's not going to be many setups like GTII in your lifetime. Now, I have to put the huge caveat there that nobody has a crystal ball. But with all of the catalysts, which I won't bore you with again right now unless you want me to, and with a trapped short, and an idiotic trade, no professional trader would take this trade. No one. In fact, once they get a wind of the stock starting to rally and breaking through the gates, on the upside, professional traders are probably going to come in and go long alongside of you at higher prices. A pro would rather pay $15 a share, buy 1 million shares at 21 as it's going up, and if it goes to 210, they just made a huge profit. But they'd rather do that as it's happening, overpay, and experience the whoosh, because they have to keep their money at work all the time. But what was I going to say on that? Darn it. Anyway, I forgot what else. I was talking to Andy about 1-800 Law Firm, I think, but I can't remember what else. But just remember that the company, GTII, is like an incubator. It's like a SPAC. It's like a hotel for companies. So the companies come in, they take a nice shower, get a shave and a haircut and 2 bits, and then they are pandered for a year or 2 publicly, and they get going, and then they float. They go off on their own. They're launched. The shares are returned to the company, and the company keeps 5, 10, 15%, whatever's agreed in the company. So just keep your eye out for other deals, other acquisitions beyond 1-800 Law Firm, Andy. There will be more. Oh, you want to talk about restricted? Robert has a good point. Make sure you don't have a quote-unquote maintenance call because of the fee to merge the GTII shares. He's absolutely right. These overpaid wankers they're not all wankers. Some of them are delightful people. But these banks need to charge you fees every which way but loose. And that's one way they'll sell some of your shares. So he's absolutely right. Keep an eye out. One fix-it man. You cannot sell the restricted shares for 6 months. Well, one fix-it, man. I actually hope they put a restriction on the shares longer than 6 months, but the standard restriction is 6 months in the United States. And I think in Canada it's usually 4 months. I'd like it to be longer because I'd like the brokerage firms to look at it and say, oh, we'll just not say, well, we'll just wait 6 months and sort it then. But that's just me. 6 months is plenty of time to cause them pain. And as I was saying on a space call earlier today, briefly, Avid had a great space call. When we had the special dividend for the warrant working in September and October, Fidelity was paying 1,000% for shares. That is not because they were doing it out of the goodness of their heart. They needed real shares to exercise the warrants. And you know what they were discovering in October and November? They were discovering that they had fails to deliver. Their computers had been lying to them all along. The Kramers via Alpine had been lying to them, and they found out that they were basically breaking securities laws. So they set about buying real shares, locating real shares, closing out the fails to locate in their system. And this time, when they get these restricted shares, it's my theory that Fidelity is not going to want to gloss over the problem. They're going to want to fix it. Why? Because if they ever get into court, and remember West Christian is tracking them massively, if they ever get into court, the judge is going to say, Your Honor, your offer. No, they're going to say, Your Honor, or they're going to say, Your Honor, we plead, we didn't know, and she's going to say, wait a minute. Back in October, you were paying 1,000% for shares. Why were you doing that? Well, we needed shares because there were a lot of fake shares in our system. Well, what have you done since October? Well, Your Honor, your offer. Anyway. Oh, it is 6 months. Okay, so it's going to be 6 months. Stephanie's here. Hi, Stephanie. Thank you very much for giving me another chance. And Stephanie, I do want to sincerely apologize to you. I am sorry. KYP is here. PYT. And Stephanie, I will do better. I will do better. Okay. Andy is old. I got into I doubt yours is. Anyway. That's what happens if you live long enough. I got into the GTI for the crapshoot, but within reason. Always lived a modest lifestyle. Never had a lot of money. Well, ENZC, that's interesting. Andy, Stephanie, thank you, Stephanie L. I forgive you, William. Thank you for your apologizing and self-reflecting on your comment. It did shock me. Didn't seem in your character. I wanted to give you another go. Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Lordy. It's very kind of you. It's very kind of you, Stephanie. Hey, Ace is the place for the helpful technical man. Hey, stop censorship. Peak the Greek. Let me tell you something. not tell you, show you. I'll show you. But the problem is I can't show you. I can't really show you. Let me say it differently, Pete. When I first got into Finger and then into GTII, so I've been doing this with Ham, I think 5 years. It might be 6 years. I don't know. Whatever it is, I'm not trying to prevaricate. It's just the noggin, you know. Whatever it is, it is. But I looked at a lot of short squeezes. And short squeezes do what ours has done, but then they do something like this. This is such a bad drawing. But we've been down in here, all down in here. And then suddenly they go up, and it's not a straight line. And maybe it doesn't come down this far. Maybe it just comes down a little bit. But I measured short squeeze after short squeeze from the breakout point. Now, so Pete, obviously that breakout point is a what's the word? Subjective decision on my part. But I looked at maybe 30 different charts, maybe 40. And they weren't maybe all short squeezes, but any chart that had a uplift. So right now we're down here. So one thing, Pete, is I don't know if we've broken out yet. But if you'd pick a breakout point, and let's just for the sake of argument assume that the breakout point that the criminals will fight until we get to $9, $8 or $9, because that's where the high was before. So let's just say the breakout here is $10. Let's say it's $10. Let's say that breakout's there. What I found in every one I looked at, from the breakout to the high, it was somewhere between 8x to 15x as a minimum. Minimum move from the breakout to the high of the peak was 8 to 15x. Minimum. And most, I would say 60 to 70% of them, this is such a mess here. 60 to 70% of them went up 30%. 30x. So the minimums were in the 10x range. A preponderance went up 30x. And more than you know went up 100x. And lo and behold, the big movers went up 1K, 2K, and more. So yes, Pete, if we break out at 10, and if we break out at 10, and look, Pete, it's a lot of ifs. Do you hear all my ifs? if. So don't count on it, but make your own decision. But if we break out at $10 and it goes up 10x, just 10x, that's 100, right? 30x is 300. Yeah? And the big one is 100x. It's 1,000. And where it gets exciting is the Volkswagens and the Higgledy-Piggledy, or whatever that one was, or the HKDs, and you could see this go up much more than that. So yeah, I think it could in a squeeze. And the spike. I'm talking about the spike. It won't last long. That's the problem. You can't. Do you mean marry Susan? Yes, Arthur. Bert and your grandmother want you to marry Susan. Or I'm separated from the family? No, Arthur. From the yes, Arthur, you're separated from $790 million. Well, I'm going to marry Liza Minnelli. Who would? I don't know. And then you hear the door click, and you think he's shown his gumption. And then he turns and he walks back in. And he says, well, Susan is really quite lovely. If the sun hits her from a certain angle. And the father's going, yes. He says, of course, you can't always count on that light. So you can't always count on these things to run. But, Pete, the setup is here. One of the key things about GTII that separates it from the pack is the short is trapped. He's an idiot. He's got a lot of hubris. He's out probably now, but he already created this disaster. But how? He sold it from low numbers up. The other boys sold it on the way down. So when GTII first bought back the note, I heard there was 40 to 60 million shares already as a problem. What we've come to call counterfeit. Back then it was naked, short, with no shares available. But the average price was pennies. And then the stock ran up to 4, and some people got out, smart people. I didn't. And then I had a friend get out at 220. I didn't. But they shorted some of it there, but not very much. So they've been underwater the entire time. They can't let it go up. So when it starts to move, it truly could be explosive. So yes, I do think the number could be quite high. On the other hand, to counteract that, since my first numbers, and I forget who asked me the original question, since I gave my first projection, the Yahoo number of shares outstanding has doubled to, I think, 80 or 90 million. So you got to take into account supply and demand a little bit. Most of that stock is closely held, but there are some whales in there now. Who's to say where they get out? But even if 50 million shares got out at 100, that's still 300 million more to go, or whatever. So anyway, that's a long answer. Bottom line is yes, I think it could go very high. I think it can go into the hundreds of dollars before you take a deep breath. That's why you need to have GTC orders out. And I really want to emphasize the flip side of what Ham is saying. Ham is telling you that this is the best short setup he's seen in his 23 years of fighting this, and in his probably 35, 40 years of trading. The flip side of that is you're not going to see many more of these. So you might as well, if it's a big wave, you might as well get up on the board and surf all the way in if you can. What? line Phantom, it can go higher than Hunter Biden. I don't think he's going to be going very high anymore. There you go. Matt K has a good idea. If it's getting a little warm. If you can't put GTC orders in, Matt has a very good point that you could put alerts. The other thing you could do is you could just put in a small GTC order, like 100 shares or 10 shares, at the highest point your brokerage firm allows you to do it. So I've been seeing on some of your messages there that they limit, like one I saw says the highest you can go is $190. Well, let me suggest to you, if you put 100 shares out at $190, let me just suggest to you, if you get a ping and you suddenly see you sold 100 shares at 190, the stock's in the middle of its squeeze. And anything that gets it to go to 190, in my judgment, will get it to go higher. But there's going to be violent swings in the stock if it happens. I do want to point out a couple of things. I said it the other day on my call with you. It's amazing how deep and wide and thorough the knowledge of all of this is with you guys and other people on the space calls. It's absolutely amazing. You guys know more than, I hate this term, by the way, I hate this term, seasoned professionals on Wall Street know. And CEOs know. It's amazing. And slowly what you know is going to get out into the awareness. I saw CV Payne made 2 great posts today. He retweeted Shaughnessy. I'm having a Biden moment. I say that respectfully. It's not Kristen Shaughnessy. It's anyway. She's great, and he put out. Hang on a second. Sorry about that, guys. That was a really important point I just heard. He just confirmed that TD Ameritrade is not accepting sell orders. They restricted your shares, and apparently they restricted all of your shares, which is good for the squeeze. Anyway, just to finish my thought, if you put 100 shares in at the limit, it'll ping, and then you'll know to start watching your well, yeah, Basamo, don't be diamond hands. I am totally anti-diamond hands. Can I say it again? I'm against diamond hands. Go ahead and trade it. Take a little money off the table. Jim Cramer, you remember Jim Cramer? A lot of people don't like him. But I used to watch his show a little bit, and I read his books because he does teach you some things. And he almost can't help but be a little bit honest. But anyway, one thing he said, it's just paper. It's just paper until you sell it. And I wish I'd known that throughout my life. With my supposed numbers, I know my numbers are way up there. Well, Basamo, just get out at a reasonable point. I don't want anybody to base the decisions as if I'm some expert. This is how I see it. I'm not making it up. But you have to use, all of you are really wise and intelligent, and your gut instincts tell you things better than my gut tells me. I have one of those, what they call it, inner child. I have one of those where I can't always trust my own thinking as it relates to myself. So you guys are better at all that, and just go. Basamo, it's going to be much better to hit your targets, be liquid, and turn your attention to other aspects of your life than aim for the moon and the rocket ship explodes, in the troposphere. Nick Goff, if you're on TD Ameritrade, it means you cannot sell any shares during the squeeze. Nick, I'd have to think about that. I am still with Counselor Diamond Hands. Did I say it incorrectly? I'm not Diamond Hands in terms of AMC and GME. What I'm saying is you can trade it. That's all I'm saying. When it goes up, you can get out, buy low. Anyway, but yes, Counselor Diamond Hands used to have some good videos. I don't know if I haven't seen them pop up on my screen, but next time I see one, I'll try to do a video and go through it with you. Yes, I 100% support Counselor Diamond Hands. Wow, one fix it. That's a lot of stock. Congratulations. What more do you need? What more do you need? I'm not that good at arithmetic, but net of taxes, I think you'd be a pretty independently wealthy guy. And I can't imagine why you would risk it with that number there. That's terrific. Absolutely terrific. Congratulations. You sold one share? BVJ, that's great. Dennis. Okay, Dennis Berquist asks, was the stock price based on the dividend? I think what I was seeing, and Ham spoke about it much more wisely and eloquently on Avid's and Busy Brand's space call after the close. But what I was seeing was somebody in trouble. I think what you were seeing was either I don't know what to call them, like a pickpocket short, a day trader short, an opportunistic short, a scumbag short. Well, they all are, but one of the smaller, underfunded guys taking advantage of the downslope that's caused by the Kurt Kramers and the Alpines of the world, possibly called in to help out Alpine, like they did right after when everybody went to COSM. They drove it down, and then they drove it down in January. Then they drove it down again in March, I guess. It's in the charts. You can see these sharp downturns. These are aggressive bullies that are shorting the stock. They're underfunded. They can't take the losses. And I think one of those got in trouble today. Or as a group, they work like hyenas attacking a carcass. They work in a pack. As a group, once the stock they tried to get it under 1, they tried again. One of the guys might have lost his courage, and he says, you know what, I want out. I want to cover my trades. So then they're just going back and forth between each other. It's all illegal. Spoofing, crossing, signaling. I take great disagreement with Jeremy's representation. I know he believes it. I think he's honest. But he thinks the computers, when the bid is 2,206 shares, the computer is putting that bid in to confuse you that it's a retail order. And then the offer is a sale of 110 shares. Who the heck is buying 6 shares of $1.50 stock? It's communication. It's illegal. They used to do it on cell phones, and then the SEC started arresting people. So anyway, I'm giving you a long answer, I know. It's either one of these little shorts got in trouble, or it's collectively the group. One of them said, I want out. So as a group, they all decided to start covering their positions to take their ill-gotten gains out of the market. The other possibility is that Alpine is under pressure. You've got interest rates going up, as you know. You've got banks in trouble, as you know. You've got, other than in the D.C. market, real estate is booming here, but you've got real estate commercial loans being foreclosed upon. You've got credit cards being shut down. In other words, you have debt is constricting, money supply is constricting. As much as they pour in, we're at a point in the credit cycle that there's just not as much liquidity and free money out there. So Alpine, if indeed it's going to be expelled by FINRA, Alpine's assets have to be acquired by another broker-dealer or a broker, a prime broker, like, I don't know, Jeffries or Wells Fargo or Goldman Sachs. But the thing is, the acquiring broker will not take this Kurt Kramer disaster position. They won't take it. So that'll have to be guaranteed by the DTCC or the SEC or whatever organization is going to take responsibility. The money's with the DTC. So it's possible that Alpine is starting to be bought in. Finally, the other source of buying today might be caused. It may not be the 19 million share short out of Switzerland, apparently, but they are calling in. They're calling the big shareholders. I don't know where they got maybe out of the SEC filings, but they're trying to locate shares. That might be a Credit Suisse problem, but that's back and forth. And here's and I forgot, I apologize who I'm answering. But what happens is you get a phone call from Switzerland and they start calling all the big holders. Well, maybe you call one holder who's happens to be a fund. You don't realize it. The guy you're talking to runs a fund. What? You got 19 million to buy? All of a sudden there's buy orders on the street. So I'm giving you a long answer, but the way I saw the trading after I was initially wrong because there was no volume, the volume picked up. I think they were trying to manipulate it. No one was selling. They're trying to get air pockets of selling. It really looked like somebody wanted to cover get out. And I think it's going to follow through tomorrow. What did Joe say? Well, Joe, friends, I don't know what I'm talking about, Joe, so don't quote me. What I said is I have heard, someone here just said it, and then I just got a phone call. I have heard, I don't have an account there, that at TD Ameritrade, they're mixing the restricted shares, which you can't sell, into your account with your current shares, and apparently, probably just because they're confused at what's going on, and I think it won't last very long, but I don't know. They're saying you can't sell anything. And my guess is they're saying you can't make any sales until they get it sorted. My further guess is, remember, Joe, friends, I don't know how long you've been here, but I've been doing videos initially to 12 people, and then I know my videos get long-winded and they're not the sleek productions like Avid's are great, or Ace has these great videos, even Arca's videos. They just get mine. But anyway, I forgot what I was going to say about the restricted shares and trading, so I already forgot, Joe. But I'm not saying that they're going to stay restricted to sell throughout the short squeeze, and I didn't answer that question. I think right now they're just, that's what I said in my videos, Joe. I pointed out how the back offices are run by young people in terms of length of service, probably, and they've probably restricted the amount of money they're spending there. And then everything's computerized. So as long as the computers hum, no one's worried. And the accounts, all of the accounts, the system is full of electronic shares. Whether they're in type 1 or type 2, it's all electronic entry. And to be in the system is very difficult unless you start with cash. If you start with a certificate, very hard to get it into the system. So they've set it up that your incentives are to remain in the electronic system. Then the broker-dealers just give you, if you buy something, let's say you buy 1,000 shares of Tesla, the other side just gives you counterfeit shares. Well, to the computers, it's a fail to deliver. And it spins right through the Goldman Sachs button, the F3. They hit that, will deliver later. Okay, fine. The computers hum and whirl and ping and boom, ding, zoom, and the trade happens. And the computers never notice a problem. The runs that the computers see says, Alpine says they will deliver. So we're no red lights, no alarm bells. 31 days goes by, the computer checks with Alpine's computers, we got an extension, or they say they covered it by moving it to another LLC. Anyway, the computers hum. That's all my point is, Joe. Well, by what happened with MMTLP, I think what happened with GTII's warrant, special dividend warrant was doing it. And I think maybe this is going to do it. Eyeballs are on it. Eyeballs are on it now. And I think most eyeballs on Wall Street are honest. They don't want to go to jail. They don't want to break the rules. They are not Gary Gensler. They are not Ken Griffin. They are not Stevie Cohen. They are not Kurt Kramer and his brother. They are not Jeff Easton and Philip Vallier and Ari. They don't look for the gray areas and the way they can cheat. Most people follow the rules on Wall Street. It's only these exceptional few that make outside returns. They can buy the Mets. But when you look deeply, Stevie Cohen makes a lot of his money by cheating. And I'm not making that up. You can read the book, I think it's called Black Ice, and one of you did. And what he did through his tentacles, he destroyed a medical company and broke the heart of a scientist. Yet he buys the Mets, and he sits there eating his hot dogs and smiling. There's something wrong with the morality in this system. So anyway, Joe, I am not saying that I'm the expert on what happens at TD Ameritrade. First in, first out for tax purposes. Yeah, except Line Phantom. Remember a couple of things. You might want to match your trades initially, take some losses if there are some, just to have them. The other thing is you may not want to sell your long term. You might have some stock, like One Fix-It has a lot of stock. Some of that stock he might have is long term. You might want to sell the lower. Let's say he sells some at $10. He might want to sell some of that as his short-term holdings, and the stock he sells at 70 as long-term, because your tax consequence is so much different. You're welcome, Joe. I don't know if I answered it well because I get going, and that's the problem. If you were sitting here and we were having a conversation, I'd probably shut up, let you talk. Oh, it's an IRA. Good for you. One Fix-It, man. Good for you. Hey, Jenny L. And who's that? Thomas Dubois and Robert. Yeah, sell long-term last. Exactly, Robert. That's what I'm thinking. Except, there might be a case where you want to take a loss, but in a squeeze, that's irrelevant. That's true. In an IRA, it means nothing. Jennifer, Matt K, space call going with GTI, Keith, and Jennifer. Well, let's listen. Let's listen to it. Jennifer's always good, I know. And There's Shaughnessy's in there. Let me see. Oh no. She's not in it. I don't see the space. Oh, there. GTII has activity. Stop interrupting with MMTLP. Let me just look at it. I might not sign in. It's GTII, Keith, John. Jennifer's there. Day Trader's good. Dr. Demo's there. And I mean, I'm glad to turn it on, but I don't know. Yeah, Cindy Lou, I don't want to get into toxicity. So maybe we'll just do it this way for a little while longer. You guys can go listen. I won't be insulted. And maybe I'll get on there afterward. Oh, there'll be hard language if GTI is running as host. He is. He's the host. So, guys, there were several questions that I didn't even get to. I promise right now I'll look if you want to redo it. Finger, we can talk about too. Alan from Alameda. That could be a song. Jack Wolf, absolutely. In fact, I would, exactly. If you have losses on the others, the only, I'm sorry, my voice is going up. I'm sorry. The only caveat I'd give to that is if you think another stock is going to run within 30 days, might as well not get out. They will let GTI go first, so we can't buy more shares with MMTLP. I don't know. It's Nick. You're not wrong in how it seems and how it feels. I even said it today to somebody. Every stock we're in trades at the same pattern. It's GTII, Keith, John, Bad Boy, Day Trader, Jennifer, Mike Q, Brian, and Dr. Demo and then there's 91 others. I don't know. I think I'm gonna leave it alone because I haven't. It's not that it's. I enjoyed. I go on space calls, but they've left me a little drained afterward recently, and I'd rather be uplifted by you guys. Day Trader said to say hi. Well, tell him hi too. Jenny, Rebecca. Okay, there's the question that I always fear. First something, and then they. No. I'd rather be alone. Quietly now, as I leave the stage, Act 1 is over without costume change. The principal must leave the stage, and the crowd don't understand. I was only joking, my dear, looking for a way to hide my fear. I could never win, never win. Bum, bum. Is Skinny back? No, Jackson Brown was Jackson Brown. Why don't you stay just a little bit longer? Please, please stay. Say you will. I liked Jackson Brown. 100K in Logic. Grow up, Arthur. You'll make a fine adult. Oh, that was a Rod Stewart cover band anyway. Rod Stewart. Man, I drove my roommates crazy. One of my roommates, somehow he succeeded without it. Well, anyway, so we can talk about Finger. Paulie V, that's right, they have until Monday to finalize 1-800, and I see that as two sides of a coin. One side is that I've already expressed that I can look at it negatively and expect that they'll ask for another delay. The other side is possibly the audit's already been fulfilled, and maybe the last thing to do is for the lawyers to dot their I's and cross their T's, and so maybe it's in that stage. I don't know. Pete the Greek won't put anything else into MMAT. My feeling is, Pete, it'll be a bottomless pit in MMAT, buying more shares. And you don't have to listen to me because I don't really know the background as well as you do. But I think it'll be a bottomless pit until the financing starts to clarify. It's like slow setting concrete instead of fast setting concrete. And just let it set a bit before you start putting weight of your money on it. The two dynamics in MMAT that could change it overnight is MMTLP could pay back the money that they borrowed. And that, I would think, would finance MMAT for a long time and get them out from the clutches of the toxic financiers. The other thing is revenues could rapidly change overnight because they have if they raised enough money to get to the next milestone, which is completing that battery technology, they could get revenues that would just shock the shorts. Like eels do it. Even eels do it. You guys I'll just sit here and talk to myself. You guys are talking with each other. I feel like I've left. Which is better, GoLogic or Logic? I think they're both great, Nick. They're both very similar stories. But I'm going to adjust your question a little bit. I think Logic has a possibility for a movement to $1 or higher in the next days. If a squeeze started in Logic, I think it might go to $3. That's not huge, but that's it's 50 cents. I think the great thing about Logic is by June, I expect that you're going to get your 2-for-1 in it, and when it spins off Data Logic into the SPAC, which is de-SPACed, and when Logic acquires the private company, and you get 2-for-1, I think that'll be worth about $2 a share to you, $2.25, $2.50 total combined, and from here that's 50 cents. That's June. That's a nice little trade, and I think Logic, the combined, by the end of the year could be anywhere from $3 to $8. That's a wide spread. It could be higher, but I'd say $3 to $8. It's a nice little solid trade. What will be driving logic? And I tried to show everybody earlier, the front page of the Wall Street Journal yesterday is saying that AI is a magnet for money, artificial intelligence. That's logic, and it's Go Logic both. They have leverage to AI, and but the other aspect is the IPO market right now is dry. A lot of companies have teams that have been, like in San Francisco, Palo Alto, Chicago, maybe in Austin or in Boston. There's companies that have teams that wanted to go public and they're not able to. So there's this deal flow that Brent and this guy Bordes and the woman, I forget her name right now, the woman that joined the board of Go Logic, I can't remember her name, but she has extensive experience in deal flow and family office and institutional demand for these kind of deals. So anyway, the point is the deal flow is coming to Go Logic and to Logic because they're public. And so for a while, I think that it could last for months. Brent's going to have his choice of the litter, and it's tremendous. He's going to be able to add revenue, teams, technology by acquiring private companies who want to be public. And so it's the flip side of the nightmare that these small companies have had to go through. Now, because Brent has fought hard, he's fighting the shorts, he's in a position to use his currency, which is his stock. That's the way it used to be done before the criminals decided that it belonged to them. He's able to use his market cap and his public stature as a way to acquire these companies. That applies to Logic and Go Logic. Now, Go Logic, I think, has a more exciting short-term fuse, which Brent has spoken to you about on my calls. One call got taken down, so it's not there to re-listen anymore. But he stated that he explained very clearly that there were these, for lack of a better word, criminals that sold short Go Logic in anticipation, because he had filed the S4, or is it an S3, to register the restricted shares of Go Logic, like I got from over a year ago, taking the legend off, and all of a sudden there was going to be a flood of shares that impatient people would sell. Well, he withdrew that. So now you've got a situation where they're sitting, it's small beer compared to Go Logic, compared to GTII, but Go Logic, the ratios squeeze. It's very closely held. I doubt, even though they don't know for sure, it could be as much as 200,000 shares that are out there that might sell. I doubt it's that much. I bet it's very, very small. And then you've got almost 350 million shares sitting with their rear end out the window naked, and they have to cover. And so I have heard rumors that the same players in TOP, a Chinese company, are looking at both Finger and Go Logic as Southeast Asian Chinese companies. They're interested. I have no idea where it's going to go. But a very long answer to your question. I think Go Logic, if it were to squeeze, could be really exciting. From, let's say, $3, if it went 10 times, that's $30, and it could go higher. But it's a hit and, if you're playing it for the squeeze, make sure you get out because it'll come back down. However, I do want to emphasize GoLogic is bringing great talent on board. They've made tremendous acquisitions, and I think by the end of the year, GoLogic could be $15 to $25 a share. Let's say a year out, 12 months out. So they're both very interesting stories, but anyway, that's my answer to your question. NR, did TD Ameritrade screw up and restrict all of our shares? I don't know the answer from TD, but I saw it on this screen, and I just got a phone call from somebody that said they had heard that TD Ameritrade was restricting sales of all of your shares of GTII. Well, Paulie, I can talk a tiny bit about Finger. Herman Hartner, I think TD Ameritrade will let you sell your non-restricted shares in the middle of a squeeze. Why would I say that? I think TD Ameritrade their prime broker side might be in desperate need of shares to buy. So I think they'll let you sell. So I could be wrong, but it would. I think it would cause TD Ameritrade more in losses by not allowing your liquidity to come into the market as they have to go out. Everything I hear, TD Ameritrade, and this is old news, so it might have changed, but from a year and a half ago, I heard TD Ameritrade was naked, had IOUs in your accounts of 60 million shares of GTII. It was a rumor from people that I trusted. It was based on a project that GTII did, which was ask for voluntary participation from shareholders to send to the company a list of what they owned. I heard it was 60 million. So I think TD Ameritrade is going to be one of the companies, if a short squeeze happens, in their buying. And I can't understand why they would tie your hands behind your back to sell when they're going to be one of the buyers. So I think they'll open it up. Some rumors are truth, Jack. Yep. Woody Cardis. I always say Curtis, and I just noticed it's Cardis. I apologize, Woody. Woody Cardis. That's my it's weird. My eyesight's mostly clear. It's an astigmatism, I think. Astigmatism, or is it whatever. Woody, you bought 1800 GTI 109. Amazing. Woody, that's amazing. 109. I had a friend call me up, and she wanted to buy some at around 109, 110. And we were on the phone so long it started to move. And I was wrong. I said, well, this is what, I did say, this is what you want. The stock went down to 103, opened at 108, and it's starting to move up. But I said, there's not enough volume yet. So they'll probably try to bring it down again. And they did, but not nearly enough. And I think she ended up getting in at 120 something, mid to high 120s. I told her I'd send her money for the difference but she was right and you were right. And I almost did it myself. I wouldn't have been able to buy very much. But Woody Cardis, my observation is today is the key trend reversal, whatever you want to call it. This was great action. So congratulations. That's a great buy. Yeah, Matthew, I think they'll fix it, and I agree with you. Everybody call in. And I don't think if you have GTCs set, they'll get canceled. And Aaron, let me see. Aaron might be agreeing with me or will be, I don't know what he's saying. TD short 60 million shares on. It doesn't have an end to that. Yeah, it's COSM all over again in the sense, Jack, that on the one day they didn't let you get out. And I agree. But I don't think it's going to happen that way again. Well, Nick, Jeff, you have 4,800. You want to make it 5,000. Two ways to do it. One is just buy it. The other is maybe buy 100 in the morning and bid for 100 lower. There's only two ways it's going to open tomorrow. There's going to be a follow through in buying from everybody, so it'll open up. But then there'll be a pullback. Or what I think will happen is the criminals will try to drive it down first. So I think you can buy it at a reasonable price. But Nick, I wouldn't, if you paid 150 or you paid 130 on 200 shares, what is it? It's the cost of commission. In the old days, it's the cost of commission. Suddenly there's light. So Nick, in a close-up, that's where it closed, and it did hit 150, and it closed at 147. I gotta say, now when I look at that, it's gonna go higher tomorrow on the open. Look at this one, Nick. This is from earlier in the year. See the first bar, and then the next one, and next, and next, and next. That's what could happen. So, Nick, I wouldn't play with it if it were me, but do what you want. At least buy part of it on or near the open, and then you can bid for the rest, or just buy it. I have a different idea, Nick. Why don't you buy 200 on or around the open, and if it comes down lower during the day, buy another 200. When it rallies at some point, sell the second 200 for a quick profit, and that'll do it. Well, Craig Donner, don't say it's going to go higher. Every time I hear that from anyone on social media, it doesn't. Well, I don't know if this is social media or not. I hope it's comfortable. Everyone's welcome here, and all viewpoints are welcome here, and everyone's also welcome to criticize me and call me out, as long as everything is polite and we're respectful to each other, and life is full of drama, but I don't know, as I've gotten older, I just as soon walk away from drama, unless I'm defending someone. I still haven't gotten over that need in my life. But if it has me involved and it's just me, drama, I'm not that interested in drama. So that's the only other thing. Good drama, I guess, is good. It's like Paul Newman in that movie, his last movie for TV. He played a kind of a guy with no job and bad father in a New England town. He'd always say, "Well, I grow on people. I grow on people." Maybe this little gathering we have will grow on people. Yeah, ordinary angler. I'll try to. Thank you, Black Wolf. That's right, AC. Well, I think there's a space call, but I don't really want to get distracted by what's going on in MMTLP, except that I want to say I have enormous respect for everybody that's gone into the fight, and for people that have gone down into the arena and are joining in and trying to work as a group. I also have great I can't think of the word, compassion, or, for me anyway, I grant everybody a lot of room to make mistakes, because it's the first time everybody's going through it. It's money, and there's egos, and not everybody's trained to work as a team or not a team. And I heard it on a space call. Somebody said it, and he's right. I mean, we don't always like everybody in our family, much less strangers. So my point is, I try to have a wide tolerance for people making mistakes on those space calls. But having said that, I'm not particularly good at, and nobody is. Nobody wants to get into a lot of drama and arguing and back and forth. And I don't want to pick sides, and I don't pick sides. And I think everybody's just done a remarkable job. And as I said yesterday, I'm so proud at how it's like everyone's taken a college course in finance, maybe a whole degree, and they've done it in 90 days. It's amazing. It's so impressive. I'm really in awe of it. But anyway, I wanted to answer a question about something. Yeah, empathy. Alan from Alameda, I've learned late in life, that perhaps, I don't even know I hesitate because I don't know what the word really means. I've had one, a woman that I was in love with for a long, long time, and love has many iterations and meanings. I learned that in Persia they have something like 200 meanings for the word, different words for love. But anyway, I've had people tell me that I'm an empath, whatever that means. But what I do know is I absorb. Anyway, I can absorb a lot of it, and then sometimes it runs me down. And I would classify myself as an extrovert, even though I'm sitting here all by myself with a computer. I do also value some time, some space to myself. But I get my energy from others. So I'm not an introvert, if that's the definition. I don't get, I can sit at a computer and work on a spreadsheet for about 2 minutes before my mind is, I'm just not interested. But if I can sit and be with people, I learn a lot and I get a lot of energy from that. But I don't like toxic situations, I'd rather be alone. Extroverted introvert is a thing. I agree. Jenny L. I absorb everyone else. Me, she's talking to me. You absorb everyone else's feelings, emotions, and energy. Yeah. But see, Jenny, I get confused by it sometimes. That's my problem. I don't always know what I'm reacting to inside or why I'm down. Because I can also suffer from Churchill's black dog sometimes. Anyway, enough about me. I'm tired of talking about myself. How about you? Why don't you do some talking? Tell me what you think about me. We can talk about MMTLP, we can talk about finger, but ordinary angler is saying, I want to talk about GTII. Oh, Tony Sarah. All right, I want to say 2 things. Tony, this is a great point. So, but quickly before I forget it, to somebody else was saying every time he hears someone on social media say it's going up, it doesn't happen. Another friend of mine pointed out to me that this morning I was so down. He keeps an indicator, and the last 2 times, and now it's 3 times that I've been so down, according to him, it's an indication the stock's going to go up. So I just wanted to tell you that. Tony Sarah. 2 things. You make the amazing point. Ham pointed out that it will cost now if there's margin calls or if there's, just look at the 19 million shares up every 10 cents, or include the million that's the real short, 20 million shares that we know for sure, we can all agree on that. It's up 50 cents. That's a lot of quid. And these guys are operating on a shoestring. So you're right, Tony. But, Tony, the other thing he pointed out to me today, and it's on Twitter. If we assume that the naked short in GTII is 300, 325, 350 million shares. And I believe that the number is high. You don't have to. You can adjust the numbers by half or by 75%. You can chop it any way you want. But here's the thing. By that restricted share going out, all of those people that shorted the stock owe it to you. Alpine owes it to you, and your broker-dealer owes it to you. All those LLCs sitting there with undelivered, failure to deliver positions, and open fails to deliver, all of a sudden, overnight, there's 30 million more shares short, or 35 million more shares short. It's 1 for 10. So let's use, for simplicity, you can adjust it the way you want, but let's just use 300 million, 1 for 10. Overnight, there's 30 million more shares fail to deliver short. This is eventually, there's going to be a straw in here that breaks the camel's back. Craig Donner, yesterday me said, I just get bored on these lives because people keep asking a lot of the same questions as if there's new and good news every hour and we hear it as it happens. Well, Craig Donner, I did say something like that. Maybe that was the exact quote. I thought of it later. I get exasperated. But yeah, I do get bored saying the same thing over and over again. I'd rather, Craig, I'd rather sit with you and learn about you than just listen to myself. But no, I probably was just feeling a little bit run down. Imagine Tiny Tim. He had a hit song. I tiptoe through the tulips with you. And he had to sing it over and over and over and over again. So saying the same thing over and over again, it's just part of the job. So I shouldn't have said that I was bored. I'm not bored. I was just probably feeling a little bit. I don't know. I don't know why I said it. Craig, I'm sorry about that. Love the singing. Matthew Parker says it's going to rip. So anyway, I'm forgetting all the questions. Finger and MMTLP is broadly it, I guess. I don't know which one I want to talk about. Tiptoe through GTI with me. Yeah, David Kurzman, I looked really tired yesterday. I don't know what it was. And I wasn't feeling great today. I don't know, David. It's like that line in the... Is it in the Jerk? That he found his purpose, his poipus. Oh, wow, that's great. Jenny L. tells me that her husband said he loves my singing and me, and he downloaded Jenny Rebecca, 4 days old. How do you see the world? Yeah, I'm old enough to remember Tiny Tim and his little wife. He got married to her. Next to him, she looked like an elf. His special purpose. Yeah. So ordinary, it's so weird getting old because, or older, because you remember it, but not that well. And it's not like I want to go back. But what's disorienting is nobody else remembers it. He does sing it to you all the time. See, Jenny? It's a good song, and it's if I were your husband, what's that line? Winston Churchill was sitting at a dinner with Lady Asquith, and you all know this. And he was in his cups, and she said to him, "Why, Winston, if you were my husband, I'd put poison in your drink." And he said to her, If I were your husband, I would drink it." That's Winston. He apparently one time in the UK, well, I won't say it since there's women on the line, but he has a pretty good sense of humor. Hey, Ken Nugent, good night. Good night, Black Wolf. Hola, Ted Williams. Let me see this safekeeping. The after hours people are sending message to safekeeping team. Well, PS71, what safekeeping is, when you originally had, well, I mean, for years it was that way. You could open your account and you could have type 1, type 2, cash account or margin account. If Merrill Lynch invented the CMA account, the cash management account, and by opening a cash management account, all of your certificates were on margin. But that gave you check writing and a card, and everybody copied that. And then the system now has gone to everything's electronic. But there was a stopgap, which is called safekeeping. And so that's for certificates which are in your name, which cannot be traded, private shares, restricted shares. They go into what's called safekeeping. And my account at Morgan Stanley a few years ago, I received all of the shares, about a decade ago, I received all of the shares I had in safekeeping. They were sent to me with a letter that says Morgan Stanley no longer will hold shares in safekeeping. They want everything in their fraudulent electronic system, electronic entry system. So when they're telling you they're talking to safekeeping, they're debating how to handle this because they cannot ship your restricted shares to you because they don't have enough of them, which is one of the things that some people are doing, and I might do with mine. I didn't have them yesterday, but maybe now I'll request that they be shipped to me because that might be a way of calling out the system. Anyway, that's what safekeeping is, a back office designation for stocks that they keep in your name that they can't trade. I don't think many firms allow you to do it anymore. PS71, the naysayers. What's the saying about the naysayers? AC Cowling doesn't want to ask me this because hoping I don't go off on a riff. I apologize if this has been asked before. When the GTII squeeze starts, how long do you think it will last? Well, I think there was a squeeze starting in September, October, November last year. And I think that's a pretty good template for what might happen here. The question is, where do you start? Has our squeeze already started? Did it start a couple of weeks ago? And I know you're going to say, well, that doesn't make sense because the stock price is down. But remember, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be like two scorpions battling, or I don't know. It's going to be like being on that ship from the Alien. They're going to fight with everything they have, and they're going to try to drive the stock down. There's going to be violent movements. So, in my opinion, the squeeze is going to take several weeks. However, what I mean by that is it's possible. And see, we don't know right now. But it's possible that they will fight. If the stock goes to 5, I don't know, I'm making it up. If it opened at 5 tomorrow, I'm totally making it up. They may fight to drive it down. And if it goes to 8, they may fight it. If it goes to 11, they may fight it. If 13, fight it. 15, fight it. So we don't know that. I don't know that. If they still have fight in them, I think that process could take a week or 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm building that into my answer. And I would love that fight. If they sell more and fight, and the breakout starts at 13 or at 21 instead of 2, if the breakout started at 21 instead of $2, the numbers are going to be extraordinary. So I would love it if they fight. Okay, that's part of my answer. That sort of prelude could take a week or 2, 3 weeks, like it did October, November last year. But when it starts to really rock and roll, when they lose control, when they give up and their selling is gone and the buying is coming and they're not fighting anymore, I think it could be anywhere from one day, like the afternoon and the next day, to several days. And you'll see it in the volume. Picture it as if you're on a roller coaster as you're going up, 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 and you start feeling this sense that you're going to roll backwards, and then it goes over the lead lip, and you go back down. Or I guess that happens maybe it happens on a Ferris wheel, I don't know. But you will see in the trading when it gets to this lofty number and it just feels like there's no more going there and it's going to start coming down. The trick is you're going to have to judge, because that's going to happen in the lower levels as well. So it's going to be hard. Is this the last peak? You won't get it right, so just be easy on yourself. But so my answer in terms AC, in terms of this, how long it'll last, is from the breakout, and that's subjective to determine that as well. But from the breakout, I think it could take anywhere from just, and 24 hours, an afternoon, and the next day, to several days. There have been squeezes that's come down and then ramp right back up again. We'll have to follow it, and it'll be based on the volume mostly. So I think the exciting part will come in a matter of days, or even a day. But the build-up before the breakout could be. I mean, it's possible it could be weeks. But I'm going to say, with Alpine in trouble, and with the other catalysts, I'm going to say it won't be more than a couple of weeks to get to the breakout, if that. Now I'm getting a little bit. My Fidelity account won't let me set GTC orders on GTII if that order value is not within a few dollars. Okay, so Cat Zone, that's Fidelity. And remember, Fidelity was paying 1,000% back when I think a squeeze was starting to really get underway. And unfortunately, the bubble got popped. And anyway, we all know that. So, I'm trying to remember who said it. I think it was Matt. I think Matt recommended that one thing you can do is set alerts on your phone or whatever for if the price starts moving. You can do that. The second thing you can do, I think, is well, if they only let you do a little bit above, don't do that. But try this, Cat Zone. Try to put in a day order, not a GTC. Put in a day order to sell, I don't know, 100 shares up $10 or whatever you pick. Put in 100 shares at 15 or whatever number you want, and as a day order. And then that'll trigger. You'll get a notice on your phone and you go, wow, it's moving. That way you'll be alerted to the fact that you better start paying attention. I don't know the answer, but I'm guessing they don't have the strict limits on a day order. Oh, you can't? So Fidelity is really... Fidelity may have a real problem with a short position in GTII. Thank you, Ram. I think it will, Alan. It'll shake because they want to shake you out. But what will give you strength is if you've written down your goal and you've put in GTC orders. You have to be nimble. You might have to change them. But if you forgive yourself in advance for selling too early, because frankly you won't remember everything. In a year, you won't remember that you missed out on another $20. For the next few weeks, you'll be talking about it. Every time you sit down and drink a Bud Light, you'll be talking about your trade. But in a year or two, you won't remember. You're trying to listen in and watch the Warriors? What? Sergio, watch. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to me. See, something's going on with Schwab, isn't it? I didn't say you drink Bud Light. I was just joking. How to destroy a franchise. Man. You know the thing about, is it called InBev? They have Stella Artois, which I always thought was a great beer, and they have all these, Michelob and I don't think they have Beck's, but they have. Do they have Carlsberg? Anyway, they just have a lot of, and all of their sales are getting hit. But I read a financial article on it, and it would have never occurred to me. But when you lose a weekend of sales, it's really hard to make it up for the whole year. And now they're losing sales over weeks. And they're not going to get their annual numbers up. It's just hard to... In other words, the example they gave is if a guy goes out and drinks, 20 beers on a weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and he switches brands for that weekend, even if he comes back the next weekend, you're never going to get those 20 beers back. And... I don't know. They really stepped in it. I don't know. That was like that Coke, that when Coca-Cola changed their formula. James Flowers, I don't think you have to worry about the merger with Schwab and TD. They've been working on it a long time. I'm sure the computers will be seamless. And their job as custodian of your account, and to act as basically as your agent buying and selling, as your broker, buying and selling shares, that won't be affected by anything else. If Schwab, the bank, gets in trouble and is taken over, or for that matter, if Schwab, the broker, gets in trouble, they'll organize a Sunday night, confab, and by the time you wake up at 9 a.m., Schwab will be owned by J.P. Morgan, Bank America, Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs, and it'll all be one big Darth Vader, Death Star-like bank. I don't know. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. Brian Moss, if you have GTC orders, is TDA required to execute the order if it goes over the price, or they can block selling? Well, Brian, if you have an order to sell, I don't know, make it up, 10,000 shares at 55, if the bid goes over 55, you have to be filled. If the stock trades at 55, but the bid remains at, say, 53, 54, you may or may not be filled, and you can call in and ask for time and sales and get an explanation why you weren't filled, but it might just be simply there were orders ahead of you, and the volume of trades at $55 in my example didn't get to your order yet. If the stock goes 54.56, bid 54.56, and you have your offer in at 55, you should be filled. Because if it went 54.56, your order should be in there ahead of that 56 at 55. So that's the other situation that you should be filled. You should be filled. But if the spread is 54.55, like I just said, it just depends on how many shares went off at 55 and where is your standing. But it's probably not something to worry about. My guess is you will get filled if you have your GTC out there. But no, they can't not fill your order unless they cancel it. I guess they have a right to cancel your order. But they have to let you know. They have to let you know. And once it's up and trading, it's not, despite what TD did to you guys with COSM, it's not in their interest to prevent your sales. It's just not in their interest. Sebastian says, I just got off the phone and they said something about the dividend not being issued on restricted stock. That's true. The dividend's issued on your common shares, but it's restricted shares. So you got one restricted share issued on 10 common shares. But I don't know. Maybe I'm not reading it right. If TD calls themselves charging another, feel like they just rolled it in for no reason. They may not know what they're doing. These people in the back offices don't have a great deal of experience with this. Oh, your orders are blocked. Well, I'd almost tell you to change brokerage firms, but you might miss it. Yeah, another mandatory fee. You know what? In the G74, I actually noticed I have a debit of around that number. The fees. It's the fees. The fees. All right, let me see what time it is. 11:30. Good night, Matthew. Good night, the Cat Zone. One big... I don't know about Elon Musk, but doing it for everybody else, but that would be great. Go woke, go broke. Does anyone know what's happening here? All right, so any input on Novo ticker? The RAM Novo ticker. Are you talking Novo or Novo? N-O-V-O. I don't know anything about N-O-V-O. So I don't know. I can't sleep. I think you have to temper your... I understand not sleeping, but I think you have to approach this in a calm way and be stoic about any outcome, because it's possible it doesn't trade up right away or there's another delay. It's possible, I guess, that they could bring more selling in. But guys, this is the dregs of short selling going on right now. This is just a bunch of little hyena short sellers trying to drive it down. Maybe they're getting paid off by John Hurry or by Kurt Kramer. But the big boys aren't doing it anymore. Alpine can't do it. The people out of Switzerland that might have been doing it as a favor to John Hurry, they're not going to do it anymore. This is going to be a really busted trade on the desks of some compliance desks around Wall Street, and they're just going to want to take the error. So you might be on the verge of a big event. The RAM dividend was issued in GTII. I want to say the record date was 2 weeks ago. Anyway, there's a news story. You can look it up. But the delivery is basically maybe yesterday. I think we're on the verge of a big event. I agree, and trust Jenny's judgment. He's so goofy. He's so goofy. He's so goofy. He's so goofy. You have to admit he's goofy. You have to see why when we were young, we made fun of him. But now I wish I had never made fun. But look how 60s. Just listen to the voice. Listen right here. Right here. No. Listen to that voice.
And if you want to prove it's true, baby, I'm telling you, this is what
right here, listen.
Just help yourself to my lips, to my arms, just say the word and they are yours. Just help yourself to the love in my heart, your smile has opened up the door. The greatest world that exists in the world could never buy what I can give. So help yourself to my lips, to my arms, and then let's really start to live.
You can see why people like me made fun of him, but what a voice. It's just like Austin Powers, baby. That is not my bag. Here's one book, Austin Powers, This Thing Is My Bag, Baby. That's Tom Jones, Jenny O. The song that's his best, Jenny, is Delilah. Why, Delilah? And then he does the green, green grass of home. Amazing. But his is the second best Danny Boy. He does a great Danny Boy. Best Danny Boy, Sinead O'Connor. Randy, I don't know exactly what happened with GTII, except, in my judgment, and I talked quite a bit with him, and then he jumped on a space call. I think, at a minimum, one of these disgusting shorts got trapped and was in trouble. Either got a margin call, got a buy-in, but had to cover. Or, as a group, one of them might have broken from the rest, and they were trying to communicate with each other, and as it went up, it was starting to get out of control because none of you were selling. They were trying to get you to sell to help them out. Nobody was. The third thing it might be is Alpine, and or, because it went through Alpine, I think, that 19 million shares might be in pressure to just to buy in. So that could be an aspect of it. There might be a possibility that one of the deals, or a new deal, there might be a new deal. They're always working, they have ideas going, but it might be we've become somewhat numb to the idea that something would work. But it might be one of the deals has finally come to fruition and there was some inside buying. But to me, what was happening today was the beginning of what you will see if to me it was voluntarily, right now probably voluntary buy-in going on as a result of pressure somewhere. But it might be followed with buy-ins from the compliance desk. I don't know what triggered it exactly. Maybe they just figured we've tried 3 days to get it below $1 and we weren't able to. We're sitting here with a lot of stock naked. Let's start covering. And they couldn't shake anything out of your peach tree. Well, Lenny Becker, if 1-800 goes through, I'm trying to think what you mean in terms of a dividend, because I think they could always distribute 1-800 in the future, but not right away. I think any shares issued to acquire 1-800 dividend would be after the restricted shares dividend. But just remember, guys, and I forgot who I was answering, but just remember something that Ham put up on Twitter. If there's 350 million, adjust it downward if you want, but if there's 350 million naked shares out there, all of a sudden there's 35 million more. You're almost to 400 million just because a 10% restricted stock dividend was issued. So that could be triggering the buy-ins. You know, Fidelity might be getting this, and because Fidelity was in trouble before, as evidenced by their 1,000% bounty on shares, they might be the one out there starting to buy. Guys, and girls, it doesn't take much to start a fire. What's new, Pussycat? That's the one song I never really liked of his, but it's all right. It's all right. You know, he stayed married all his life to his whatever they call it over there, his school sweetheart. Well, Avid's good at charts, and Diego, I think if you become, a man of the manor after this trade, and you have your little den, and you go in the morning with your coffee and your glasses down to your nose, and you check your mail and quickly peruse your portfolio. A guy like Avid is a good thing to have because you can set do some of your trading off of that. So Statler Bros. You are AC, you're the youngest of 14? Man. Yeah, I'm wishing I had had children. I have to admit that. That's one of my regrets. But hey, anyway, I think it's terrific that you have 13 siblings. Yes, a lord and a lady of leisure. You'll be, of course, shunned. You'll be shunned by the old money because you'll be new money. But you can buy a title in Scotland. You can become a real lord. I love Sinatra now. I listen on Sunday. There's a WPFW in D.C. There's from about 2 to 4 o'clock. They play that kind of music, and I love Ella Fitzgerald. It's not unusual to be loved by anyone. She can take she's a lady. Whoa, 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 she's a lady. And the lady is mine. It's not unusual. Well, the shares bought by insiders are very likely exercises, but it's great. It's great. Wow, Dadif. Somebody posted that TD Ameritrade may be doing the buying. Thank you for that, Dadif. That certainly makes sense. They were reported to have a massive problem about a year and a half ago. You know what else Tom Jones sings very well? He sings act your age, not your shoes size. I don't want to be rich. You don't have to be rich to be my girl. You don't have to do something to rule my world. There ain't no particular sign. Yeah. Anyway, that song. Tom Jones sings that song. Insider buys and exercises won't count toward volume, but what I would watch out for is they may be part of the sellers when it squeezes. I think you should get rid of the high frequency trading. What good does it do, Ryan? Ryan, what does it do? Does it add to your job? Does it add to your company? Does it add to profits? High frequency trading is just there for Ken Griffin and Wall Street. It's the one thing that I really agree with Bernie Sanders. Tax it and it'll stop. But it's just unnecessary. And they say it's for liquidity. With liquidity like that, you can keep it. I'd rather pay stock commission. The only liquidity they provide is down your pants leg. Kiss. That's it. Kiss. But guys and girls, when this starts to run, I'm going to have to control myself too. But it's not bad to try to do some money management, Hey, Simon Hagen. So I'm going to go. It's 11:47. I'm going to quit at midnight. Because I think I discussed everything. On MMTLP, somebody asked me, I really don't think there's much for worrying. You've worked hard. The knowledge is out there. I don't think there's any more you can do about MMTLP. I don't think you're going to lose your money. You stand to make a lot of money. I'm of the opinion that MMTLP will not be allowed to have a massive short squeeze, but I could be wrong. But I do think you've got 5 powerful individuals fighting for a fair settlement. So, and I think something's coming quickly for MMTLP. I don't know anything, but why? Because Mark Belial put an administrative request in for the blue sheets, which is just time and sales and who sold and where'd the money go. It's a forensic study of what happened. They don't want discovery. They don't want that out. So I think there will be a settlement proposal that they give before the judge or before whomever before that happens. So anyway, I just don't think you need to worry about MMTLP. You're going to have a decision to make, I think, whether you want to settle or see the bastards go to jail, but that decision might be made for you. Anyway, on Finger just went to conference, or is about to, the E.F. Hutton conference. I feel like I'm living back in Mannix and Rockford files. But anyway, they're going to get publicity. I'd rather not go through the whole finger story right now because I'm tired. But this is a company with tremendous fundamentals, tremendous, great revenue, explosive potential revenue and earnings. So the Lind Partners is sitting on the stock and manipulating it because of puts and calls and maybe some sort of derivative contracts. But you've got something like 125 million fictitious shares created by the Lind Partners, New York City. And Benchmark Capital funneled the company to the Lind Partners. So it might be some of Benchmark Capital's clients as well. But the stock just isn't there for sale. So if they ever lose control of it, Finger could be a dramatic squeeze. Worst case, it's just an excellent company to hold in your portfolio. Is news coming for I don't know. Barnaby Jones. Who was it that did it for Smith Barney? John Houseman. We make our money the old-fashioned way. We earn it. When E.F. Hutton talks, it's like my audience. People listen. No, I'm anti-E.F. Hutton. When I talk, no one's listening. Yeah, I've heard the selling button being removed. Well, I don't know. I haven't heard of the selling button being removed per se. Yeah, J-Dog, I like MMTLP. I haven't heard of it being removed other than like the Halt, and Canon. But I have heard of the, sell to close. Not really. I guess I haven't really heard of the sell button being removed. I have seen, you're talking legitimate sales around the world, and even in the United States, they've tried to halt short selling at various times when the market's in a panic. As you may well imagine, it has the exact opposite effect. Yes, listen with squinted ears. KKYP PYT. Yeah, 7 minutes. I'll go 7 more minutes. Mannix. It's pretty embarrassing when you see an old television commercial or an old show. I mean, I can't imagine. People today are so lucky. There are things that are going to change. Like, I don't believe you're going to be able to travel as freely as time goes by. And there's other things that are going to be, maybe you're not going to experience the same way. But man, the computers and the movies and some of the leisure life that you're going to have, computers and robots are going to be doing a lot of work. There's a lot of exciting things ahead, and health. when William P. Farron goes long, others not go long. Yeah, Logic's dropped today. I didn't mention that, Mark, no. But I think the selling, there's some people that took advantage of it when it was at 72 cents. I do think there's some pent-up demand to sell. But I also think there's this shorting against it. But I don't think it's the same kind of relentless shorting that happens in GTII. But I wouldn't sit on Logic. I think Logic has shown you where it wants to go. I think the stock has the potential to get to 80 cents, $1, $1.20, in the near term. That's a projection, not a promise. But it's going to have a record date supposedly by the end of May for distribution in June of the, just to be simplistic, the Data Logic SPAC and the Logic private company. So 2 for 1. And I think that starts out at worth $1.75, $2, $2.25. And then you've got all the deal flow. So I think Logic could have a mini squeeze, because if it starts to run to $2 or $3 in that situation, I think Logic has a long, a value a year from now. I would guess 8, 10, 12. There are people that are upset with Brent, and there are people that want to keep the stock down, but I don't think that'll last. They've made acquisitions. The revenue is growing. GoLogic's going to uplist to the NYSE. Logic, not sure it's the NYSE. I have to be careful on that, but they are going to try to uplist. Brent's been on here. I'll try to get him on again this week, but they're going to do everything to fight for the shareholders. Virtual reality and legal weed will make travel less necessary. I don't know, AQST. I'm telling you, MEGL is going to blow. Tell me one more reason why. 22 J-Dog. I'm intrigued by that. I'm intrigued by because that's the second or third day you've said that. MEGL. I mean, they did like 100 million in volume that one day last week, but doesn't mean they covered anything. Joe S., when GTI starts to run, are you going to be live on YouTube during the squeeze? Well, Joe, just to give my view on the worries that the shorts are listening in and they're gonna hijack our, my view. If everyone listening to me all week sold their stock, it's not going to rescue Kurt Kramer's ass. So, I'll probably go live. I will reserve the right. Imens, it might be true that people will wait, but you'd be surprised, Imens. The stress of the hills and valleys, and I can dally in the valley. On the way up, people will sell. It's like Mike Tyson, that great saying of Mike Tyson. Everybody has a plan till they get punched in the face, and people are gonna sell. They'll sell lower. They won't wait. They'll change their orders. It has from the jump, but has any of it been covered? That 100 million share day, James. I think both Logic and GoLogic make sense, but if you're asking me for tomorrow, which one? I think Logic at 45 cents. I think you can double your money in 2 or 3 weeks, but I think GoLogic is at $3. I think GoLogic could be $30 in 2 or 3 weeks or more. but I'm talking about a short squeeze for that number. In logic, I'm just talking about a normal trend upward towards the record date. I can sing you through. All right, 5 a.m. Thank you, 22J Dog. Thanks for reminding on the MEGL, because I'm going to look at it in the morning. I'm too tired to open it up right now. But oh, it's 12 o'clock, so we can say goodnight. I know, that's exactly right. Playing kickball or baseball in the street, or just playing with a bunch of people feeling Mannix. All right, so yeah, it's all my opinion and not financial advice. And you should get advice from me on love relationships. That'll be my next channel. Love and marriage advice. There's some advice you should ignore. That is some advice you should ignore from me. All right, so guys, I will tell you, I will wish you all peace and love and happiness and sleep, some sleep, and we'll we will reconvene at some point. Depending on how I feel tomorrow, I might be late, but I'll probably be same time, same bat channel. And thank you, Robert and Jenny and Anthony and Alan. Be level-headed. Don't let them, don't let them scare you. And hey, Darren, thank you. And all right, we'll finish on that. Josh B. Real Estate. He had a dream last night. It went to 100, 200, then it bounced between 400 and 500 per share, then it shot up to 2,000 a share. That is a vision to close the night on. So everybody, I wish you well. We'll catch you tomorrow. And it'll be a good experience, I think. So anyway, cheers.